Today, I'm going to be talking about 8 books you must read. For a variety of reasons, you must read these books. I think information in this day and age is very critical. There are so many people out there telling you what to do. There is your phone telling you what to do. There is Netflix telling you what to do. There is Instagram telling you what to look like. Um, how do you define individuality without actually having a good fulcrum through which you're able to assess this life? In the absence of such a fulcrum of better formed opinions and notions and wisdom around you, these are 8 books which I don't think they will set you free, but they did set me free. So if you really want freedom, if you really seek freedom, if you really seek enlightenment, if you really seek joy, if you really seek peace, if you really seek education, you must read the following 8 books. I will talk about each and every book, and I will also be sharing a link in the description. I would want you to read at least two of these 8 books for any semblance of clarity. The first book is by a very rash American real estate investor, and that is Grant Cardone. Good looking, very strong, loud 60 year old guy. And this book is called Be Obsessed or Be Average. It is quite an absolutely instinctual book. It's written with a lot of instinct. What is this book about? I think if you are lacking inspiration, lacking motivation, lacking drive in life, lacking purpose in life, this book might just be what you've been waiting for. It might be that shot in the arm. It might be that gladiator in your mind's force. I read this book, and in my office, I have built these cabins with quotes on the wall. And there are at least 5 or 7 quotes from this very book on those walls. So be obsessed or be average is absolutely amazing. I think it's a real treat. You are going to have a great time listening to Grant Cardone. You can either get the Audible or you can get a paperback. I suggest the Audible more because you want to hear it in his voice, so that you understand what he means. The second book is a book which I read before I started my business. Um, a millionaire gave me this book, and I gave that millionaire another book. So we exchanged books. And I gave him a book based on Ambani's, which is a fantastic book, but I'm not recommending it to you today. I'm recommending you another self help non fiction book. I would say this is probably the best non fiction book ever written. I would say this is the fairy godmother. I said fairy godmother of all self help books. I would say this book will change your mind, change how you look at the world. This book is one of the reasons I believe in very strong communication skills. This book is one of the reasons I have a drive. This book has a chapter in which he says to you um, that you are no longer allowed to be in a bad mood for 7 days. And when I first read that chapter, I was so annoyed because I was like, this guy is very. Look at the guts and cheek of this guy, Anthony Robbins. He is asking me to not be in a bad mood. It is my bad mood. I'm going to keep at it. I'm going to keep doing it. But it's absolutely critical you read this book, Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. I have gifted around 5 to 8 people this book, and not even one single person read it. That doesn't hurt my ego because I did my goal. I did my bit. I gave at least 8 people this book, and they did not read it. None of them read it. And they all had some excuse. Oh, we are too busy being poor. Oh, we are too busy being ineffective. Oh, we are too busy because you know what? We have to watch Netflix. Oh my God. If you are also a pigeon like them, rock on, man. The second book is Awaken the Giant Within. Time will not wait for you. I read this book 8 years back, and I reread it, half of it, in one day last year. The third book on the list is a book for minds which are very anxious, for minds which are very quarrelsome, minds which are always looking for things to disturb them, minds which are really dying for some kind of guidance, spirituality, enlightenment, peace of mind. If you have felt that your life is like a flight which never lands, you must read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. After reading this book, I traveled for 14 days to Australia, and I was changed. I was a completely changed person. And I missed the book so much that I reread it last year. I've read this book 2 times. But the joy of reading this book for the first time is a joy I can't tell you. It did not affect me the second time around. It will only affect you once, the first time you read it. It's like a drug. And that is The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. This book will... Number 4 is a book called Jobs, and it's written by Walter Isaacson, and as you may have guessed, it's on Steve Jobs. We all use iPhones, when we all use MacBooks, we all use iPads. Somewhere, if you are a human being, Apple is affecting your life, you know. But you have to understand how everything started. And if you want to understand what one human life can do, then you must read Jobs by Walter Isaacson. I read this book back in 2012, and it did not change me personally, but it's very interesting. This is more of a consumptive read than a transformative read. A transformative read transforms you. A consumptive read is pure fiction, non-fiction, whatever you want to call it. But this is a brilliant book. This is for all my nerds and geeks out there. I'm a total nerd, a total geek. Now that I've spoken of all the boring non-fiction books, which all of you non-fiction nerds want to read, I'm going to talk about fiction books. And the first fiction book is a book I began in 2008. I began this book. I read 100 pages. I stopped reading. 2012, I again began this book. I read 150 pages. I stopped reading. Again, sometime in life, I started this book. Again, I did not finish it. It's a 1,000-page book. This is The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. In 2020, there was a lockdown. I started this book and I finished it in 5 days and about 50 hours of reading. This book is like a magic carpet ride through Europe. This book it's about love, it's about parental love, it's about God, it's about Christianity, it's about villains, it's about wealth, it's about friendship, it's about revenge, it's about revenge, it's about revenge. The Count of Monte Cristo, my God, probably in the top 10 fiction books of all time, and I've read a lot of them. Read this if you want to improve your English by 5%. There is this young chap who is not happy with his parents, and the parents are constantly quarreling, and they're not rich, but he wants to go to college. He wants to go to college and study Greek as a language and philosophy. So he goes to this college and he tries to get into this class, which is very difficult to get into, and he finally gets into this class, and in that class he meets 4 people. What follows is a thrilling, absolutely brilliant literary prose, absolutely brilliant story. This is one of those books which is a treasure if you have not read it. I have read this book also 2 times, but the first time you read it, it's like a syringe. It's so amazing, you know. This is Secret History by Donna Tartt. The author writes one book every 10 years. She's written three. She's 50 years of age. Might be my favorite author of all time, Donna Tartt, The Secret History. Why should you read this book? The next book I want to recommend to you on this list is The Goldfinch by Donna Tartt, same author. This took me 1 month to finish because it is so big in size, but it's the best book I've ever read. Out of all the books I've ever read in my life, The Goldfinch is number one. This book is about mother's love. This book is about love. This book is about loneliness. This book is about New York. This book is about Amsterdam. This book is about growing up. This book is about drugs. This book is about friendships. This book is about revelry. This book is about being a thief. The Goldfinch, or Goldfinch by Donna Tartt. Absolutely incredible. 10 out of 10. Best book ever. First of all, I want to congratulate you for making it this far in the video. If you are still watching this, I think you have something. Trust me. The last book, I don't know if I saved the best for the last, but this book is called Little Life by Yanha. I'm forgetting her last name. This book is about 4 guys who are friends and the journeys their life goes through and how their lives are destroyed. This is the most sad, the most damning, the most destructive, you will be crushed in this book. You will cry. You will cry, but there will be nothing to save you. I warn you before you read this book. It has some very strong graphical depictions. Secondly, all 4 men in this book are homosexuals. So if you're a homophobe, don't read this book. There's this one character and what he goes through. You'll know who I'm talking about. Again, I'm warning you. Read this if only you are as curious a person as I am. If you're a very curious person, read Little Life. Again, I read this in 2020, the same year I read The Count of Monte Cristo. And the same year I read David Copperfield for the first time. I only read it once. But Little Life, you won't be able to reread this book or quote it again. It is so beautifully written. The first 50 pages, you just wonder what's going on. Very gently, you are ushered into this world of 4 friends and their lives. And slowly, bit by bit, you are broken. This book is art. This book is art of the highest sense. I give it an absolute perfect 10. I liked it because it destroyed me. I like it because it is so powerful. I like it because it's so moving. We always seek joy in life. What if we were to seek the opposite and derive some kind of almost scary sense of relief out of it? It's relieving to know that there is so much of sadness in the world. Those were 8 books, guys. I suggest you read all of them, or at least one of them, or 2 of them. At least 2 of these books you should read. If you have read all 8 of these books, congratulations, you have lived, my friend.